What is going on, everybody? Welcome to my garage. I've been talking about getting a garage for the last couple of videos, and finally it is time that you get to see it. Here it is. It's a garage. This is nothing that you would expect to see from any other YouTuber's garage. It's literally just a garage, as much as your dad's garage or your garage, probably. When I was a kid, my garage was used for storage. That's all that it was. It was not a place where you worked on anything, but we've got a few things in here that make it good. Toolbox with overflowing crap in the top of it. I've got chemicals and other things that go along with car stuff. I've got a workbench that I got for my birthday, really happy about that. And then a bunch of crap over there. So, this video is going to be a little bit different from some of the ones you may have seen from me before. You could call it kind of a discussion video, okay? So, now that we've got the block completely replaced, there's really not a lot for me to do performance-wise, which is what most of my videos have been, is doing bolt-on parts to get more performance. But I asked a question in one of our last videos, and one of my subscribers gave me a really good idea of something to go over. They asked, how much does it actually cost to get a built engine put in your car? I thought that was a really good topic because it's a question that everybody that has a Subaru faces at some point or another. I knew as soon as I got this car, within 1 to 2 days of research, I knew my engine was going to blow up at some point, and the plan was always to put a built engine in it. And here I am now, having crossed that bridge. So let's talk about it. I'm going to be using the quote that I got. This is a generic quote from the shop that I got to install the engine. They are an IAG certified dealer and installer. This is going to be a little bit different based on what my final number was, so keep that in mind as I'm going through all of these prices and costs for materials and labor and everything like that. Upon inspecting the block, it was determined that the heads were salvageable. I didn't have a spun bearing for a very long time. I only drove 20 miles an hour on the spun bearing for maybe 5 miles to get home from when it blew up. So there wasn't a whole lot of metal put through the engine, so not a lot of damage to anything other than the bearings and the rods themselves. The heads were able to be salvaged. The turbo was able to be salvaged, so those are still factory specs. The first one on the list is the short block itself. It shows on the quote that it is an FA20 DIT short block with JE pistons, Manley rods, Manley H-Tough rods, and a new OEM crank and a new OEM case. From what I've read on the IAG quote on their website, it doesn't list anything about H-Tough rods for the FA20. But if you read into that, it does show that they do have H-beam rods. So I'm not sure if there's a different material used to make those in the FA20 versus the EJ25 H-Tough. But either way, the block is rated for 600 horsepower. So I plan to build the block according to what the horsepower rating is, not to what the parts that it has on it. That came in right at $4,400. At the time that I bought my engine, a new OEM crank that was factory specs was only $500 less. So obviously that was an easy decision. We're gonna go build block. Again, that was the whole idea since I got the car. I knew it was gonna blow up, why not? Next one is your head gaskets, left and right side. Anytime you're taking the heads off of the car, it's a good idea to replace the head gaskets, again, because Subaru things. Not a big problem in the FA20s historically, but both of the head gaskets come in at about $110. So the next is the front cover and the oil pump. In the FA20, the oil pump is integrated into the front cover. Part of that is because it has a timing chain instead of a timing belt, as you see on the EJ20 and EJ25. The timing cover does not contain oil because it's a timing belt. Since it is a timing chain, there is oil in there to keep it lubricated, and therefore the timing cover integrates the oil pump into that. So a new timing cover is needed since it is basically the oil pump itself. Oil pump came through at $445. Obviously, with any time you are replacing an engine and timing components, it's always a good idea to do the tensioner. So tensioner A, tensioner B, for a total of about $190. Then we have an ARP head stud kit. From what I understand, the FA20 comes with head bolts. In order to withstand more horsepower, we have upgraded head studs. Always a good idea. Still stock size as the head bolts, so we can't go a lot higher in power, but it's going to be able to withstand a little bit more. Those came in at about $265. So anytime you've spun a bearing or sent metal through your oiling system, it's always a good idea to replace every single component that has oiling in it. So we've got an oil level sender on there because, again, metal going through the whole oil supply system, we're gonna need to replace that. So that was right about $100. Also, another component of the oil system is the oil cooler. The oil cooler was about $185. A lot of these things like the gaskets and seals and everything like that are pretty run-of-the-mill anytime you're gonna take an engine out of a car and put it back together. You never wanna reuse seals and gaskets and things like that because they can get damaged from taking them apart alone. Sometimes there is no way to put a gasket back in that you have taken out. The only way to get it out is to destroy the gasket or the seal. Those things are pretty common. You buy them as a gasket and seal kit when you're rebuilding an engine. It's pretty run-of-the-mill. So those are all things that I expected to see on here. So the gasket and seal kit altogether ended up around $150, somewhere around there. Then we've got all of our miscellaneous fluids. So the coolant, the oil, and the oil filter all came out to about $135. The next one on the list is where I went wrong. I had asked them, this is a lot of money. I'm going to need to penny pinch anywhere that I can in this build. They gave me an idea, possibly might not need to replace the cam sprockets. And it could potentially be an area where we could save a few dollars if the cam sprockets look to be clean enough. So in the FA20, the camshaft sprockets are part of the oil system because they are driven by the oil control valves, which activate the AVCS, which basically is our variable valve timing solenoid, and the camshaft sprockets are gonna go bad anytime you spin a bearing. Those came in at about $1,000. All together brings our total price about to $6,985 for parts alone, okay? A known common issue for the WRX is the throwout bearing. While the engine is out, you might as well replace the throwout bearing. You can get those anywhere from $50 to $100. So we'll just err on the high side of this for $100. I never really had any squealing from my throwout bearing. It was a little bit squeaky, but I think it was just the clutch pedal on my car. Now, another issue that you might have that I was made aware of is if your throwout bearing is going bad. From what I was told, if you're not great at driving a manual car, you can have a lot of wear and tear on your transmission snout. I remember being told that the transmission snout and throwout bearing repair, if that were my issue, was gonna be about $250. So something to be aware of if you're putting a new engine in your car or you're planning to, that might be something to factor into the cost. Now, my clutch specifically was slipping, so plus I'm gonna go for more power, so why would I not want to upgrade the clutch as well? So if you wanna just go for an OEM clutch replacement, be about $150 just for the clutch itself, as long as there's no damage to the flywheel or to the pressure plate. The clutch that I got was a Clutchmasters FX350. I've heard it's supposed to be a fairly light clutch, but can also withstand quite a bit of torque. I bought it from a friend. It was barely used, pretty much brand new. I spent $300 on it, so we'll put $300 in the video just for the sake of the video. There's all different kinds of prices for that. It can range anywhere from $500 to $750. Also, my engine builder was getting rid of a few parts while I was doing it, and I didn't need this, but it was a good idea. So I bought from him a billet clutch fork for $100. Brand new, those retail for about $150. With the labor of $3,380 or so, and then all the parts that I've listed here that I bought on my own, that brings us to a grand total of $11,115. Obviously, there's different rooms for variances if you buy used parts versus new parts, the amount of that you get for your block, the hourly rate for labor that you pay at whatever shop. If you have it put in yourself, you wouldn't have to pay labor, but you might end up getting nickel and dimed on a lot of smaller things like shop rags, consumables, nuts and bolts, if you lose anything, all those little kinds of things. If you have to buy extra specialty tools to, say, hold the cam gears in one place, if you have to buy an engine stand, anything like that. So with that, that's about what you can expect, $10,000 to $12,000. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. I hope you know a little bit more of what to watch out for. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Go ahead and hit that notification bell because I don't make videos very consistently because I have way too many jobs, but I'm working on it. This is gonna be the year, okay? Just, you know, keep watching, keep hitting that like button, leave a comment. The engagement really helps, and I will see y'all in the next one.